So when we talk about your dad, John, when he steps forward, but he really talks about the challenges that you're facing going forward. And he said, Dean, it's like an uphill climb for her. But you know what? I'm so proud of her. She never gives up and is actually keeps on talking about yesterday, yesterday, yesterday. And I don't know if you sat down yesterday just before this airing and actually maybe had a conversation with your dad or something, but he keeps on mentioning yesterday and like you guys had a talk. And I'm like, what are you talking about yesterday? And I was like, I don't know. I'll bring it up. But what are you talking about yesterday? Was there something that happened yesterday?
It wasn't like talking to him, but it was with like my best friend who's my cousin
Oh,
and saying exactly what you're saying, right? Like, what if he brings up the uphill battle that I've been going through? So the things that you are touching on has just been like topics of the week. Yes, with the reading upcoming for sure.
well, we have Leah Reed with us today from representing North Dakota. Leah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, the angel lady because she has all kinds of angels around her. Talking about some archangels for you. We do have Archangel Gabriel that is very first and foremost, and is a very big, how do I want to say, influence for you. Of course, we know Gabriel is God's messenger, but also works with people with their intuition. And it's kind of interesting is that when I do readings for people, and I have a sense, or at least the angels give me the sense or the view that people are tremendously connected to their intuition. I can just see a very strong, how I would say, auric field in that manner. I know it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just what I can tell is your intuition is very good, very spot on, and very strong. And Dean, in a Deanism or Dean's words, I would just say Leah knows shit, so listen to her. That's what I always so. But sometimes it's hard to explain to other people, and it's like, would you just listen to me? And probably 9 times out of 10, that's the verbiage that people use, other than, hey, I'm listening to my intuition, or I don't know how I know that. But kudos to you for expanding upon that and knowing that you can trust that. So there's a strong bond there. Also, Archangel Michael, and we know Michael is very much a protector. It's interesting as well, is because remember when I kind of joked in the beginning about the angel lady, right? And it's because it feels like you have a different relationship with angels and kind of that knowing, since probably I kind of feel since you were very young that you knew that your angels were always there and they were kind of in your corner, so to speak. Like you could, like, I don't want to say get the angels to do things for you, but like you knew you could talk to angels and that they were there and you weren't alone, and that kind of higher sense of knowingness in a sense. So, but that goes back to Michael. And because I feel a very thick bond again, and that also tells me that there was a lot of times of instability. There's a lot of times of feeling, and of course, we all feel this from time to time, vulnerable and everything else. But it might have been a little bit more so for you, where you needed a little bit more protection than the average person, if that makes sense. And it was almost like a trauma to the soul. Does that make so? Yeah, I want to use an analogy because that's what I'm being shown is when we fall down, sometimes we can get cut, bruised, or scraped. And in a sense, it's almost like whatever happened to you, it almost like cut, bruised, or scraped like to your soul level. Does that make sense? So it's a
Absolutely.
deep rooting trauma from the past, and it's always feeling, and so it would bring up a lot of issues even into adulthood. And this is
Right.
Archangel Michael's way of saying, and last but not least, we talk about Raphael. Archangel Raphael, associated with the color green, works with healers of all modalities. I've talked about all angels in this manner, but Raphael comes in closest to your head. And actually, it's interesting over on your left shoulder. So it kind of is hanging out in that manner. And it's interesting to me because really, obviously, talking about trying to help you heal by taking on burdens. That was
Right.
one of the key words that I'm hearing is burden, but also the aspect of working with you as a healer. So Raphael works with, we're all healing from something, obviously. We all have our own stuff. However, it's interesting because Raphael also works with healers of all modalities, whether you're traditional Western medicine, non-traditional, whatever you might do.
Mhm.
But holding space for others is a, you can be a caretaker in so many roles, but the thing is talking about you, about being a healer, and that is, and coming in that manner, if that makes sense to you. So
Sure
let's
does.
talk about some spirits. So very heavy female energies, and more than one, or spirits, deceased loved ones on the mom side of the family. It was right away 3 quick energy signatures, what I call it, and I was like, wow. Um, I was like, that was beautiful. It was almost like they're fighting over the chance to get to talk to you right away. It's like, no, I'm first. And I was like, you wait your turn. And so, first and foremost, we talk about the beautiful, outspoken, older female that steps forward. And I'd understand that she would have passed. Feels to me like she was in her mid to late 80s when she passed. And one of the things immediately when I connect to her, it's immediately I feel directly in her breastbone. And it's interesting to me because, and I know this might sound a bit disgusting, but in a sense, I feel like her chest being opened up. And so typically that spirit's way of sharing with me that she would have either had what feels to me like open heart surgery or something where she would have, where they would have had to open her up, if that makes sense to you. The other thing is that really a lot of invasive stuff with her. It was like, and she looked at me, she goes, Dean, I was like Frankenstein towards you. And I'm like, wow. But we understand that she had a lot of complications from a lot of different things. It wasn't just one specific thing. And at the end of the day, it's like when I'm asking, like, okay, how did you pass? It's like, well, and she almost takes out a list of what do you want? But and so it's for her, it's always kind of joking. She like to keep it lighthearted. But yet I would almost say like she has a oh, how do I want to say, like a temper of almost like somebody that is in a, nothing against the Germans out there, but a sense of kind of like a German flavor with her, right? And so it's like she can be very hot-headed and very tempered. And I know there's probably somebody listening to this going, "Oh my God, I'm not German," but that's me. But to her, to me, I get that feel, right?
Yeah.
And but just living in a sense with her personality, with her heart on the sleeve. It's interesting that I mentioned that because one of the interesting things is that I really feel that a lot of people on the mom side of the family, especially, lived in that sense, the heart on the sleeve, very much, very emotional, very, very big. How do I, big feelers, right? So not only big love, but big drama. And so it's like either you had to scratch your eyes out, rock'em sock'em fight, and high drama at Thanksgiving and Christmases, but it's also high love. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, and I get it. If somebody else going, oh my God, that sounds like my family. But the thing is that it's interesting because um, it's non-typical. This isn't an Italian family. But in a sense, it was something that um, it was kind of passed down. So if you think of generations directly, it's interesting too because I keep on hearing on that side of the family, like first gen or second generation immigrants. So it's interesting to me that they would have came like their what it came directly from Germany or Europe. And then it wasn't like, oh, I moved to Ohio and then we came to North Dakota. And it was like, it was kind of crazy. So very much like still a lot of the traditions and the deep rooted things that came directly from Europe and from that era. So it still had a very big influence. And the other thing is I keep on hearing this, is that later in life, somebody talks about going back. So I don't know if they still had a lot of family roots, but I keep on hearing about going back to that area. So talking about extended family, obviously in that area, so or something connecting back to the roots. So going back to if that makes sense too. Um,
Yep.
Connecting to the other female that's stepping forward on the mother side of the family, it's interesting because she almost has like more of an aunt flair to her. She's interesting to me because I almost want to say that she was almost stuck in the 90s. And I keep on seeing these very loud colors like magentas, and I don't even know all my loud colors, but it's like very neonish, and geometric shapes, and I'm like, oh my god, am I going back to the 80s? But that late 80s, early 90s kind of flair, and it was very, she had a fun energy about her, and it was kind of the aspect of I don't care what anybody thinks. And she kind of lived her life that way. She would let you know where the in a sense where the bear shit in the woods, so to speak, right? And then, but at the same time, again, going back to the aspect of being I almost want to say like the fun aunt, or the fun, always really loud and right on the edge. So she always lived life truly in her terms, to put it lightly. Um, it's interesting too. She keeps on showing me, and I don't know if this was brought to her memorial, but I keep on seeing a painting. And I don't know why, but I keep on, and I get it. A lot of times at funerals or memorials, they'll have a picture, or, not very common that people have most people, I wouldn't think, at least I haven't been to any, that have a painting of somebody. But it was interesting. I am being shown a painting like of her. And I don't know if it was a joke or if it was very serious. And but the other thing is that it was I get a connection to this painting to a memorial, like her memorial. And so very interesting is that, and that's why I was like, okay, was it there or maybe it was after? But the thing is there's very much, does the painting make any sense to you?
The painting doesn't exactly, but then again, I would want to talk to family to dive into that a little bit
Sure,
more,
sure.
if you will.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And sometimes it's one of those things of whether maybe somebody wanted a painting or get a paint. You're like, are you
Right.
crazy? Nobody's painting me. Um, and so yeah, I would share is, validate that with your family, or talk to your family about that. But very interesting. And then last but not least, on the mom's side of the family, I also want to talk about the female that's stepping forward, very much a smoker. And the first thing, obviously, that I smelled was cigarette smoke. But in addition to that, was perm activator with her. I get that she loved to have her hair done. And so the thing that I'm getting, it's almost like smelling melting hair, right? Just a really disgusting smell permeating the house. But yet at the same time, just a very loving, truly loving soul, if you understand that.
Yep.
And the other thing is that she keeps on, and this must be a memory that she shares, but it's almost like having an older Buick that she would have had. And it's what's very specific about this is the back seat had, and I get it that a lot of people have had this, but where she would keep stuff in the back window. So you talk about tissues or other things. And I don't know if that was something from whether or not when you were always young and maybe your point of view. Obviously, her or somebody else would be driving. But it's interesting to me that she gives me that point of view of that memory. The other thing is she keeps on talking about always having a dog in the car. Now it's interesting to me because, yeah, because It's like, okay, well, a lot of people have dogs, but it's always in the car. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
She had J-Lo was her dog, and
Oh,
J-Lo
wow.
went everywhere
Okay.
with her. Yep.
What a unique name for the dog, right?
Well, when you talk about heritage and generational, I would beg to differ on my dad's side rather than my mom's, especially with the cigarette smoke and everything you're relating to. But yes, my background's Hispanic, so
Oh,
makes
wow.
complete sense.
Very interesting. So yeah, kind of very interesting. Well, and it's interesting too is that even if we come from mixed homes or mixed hair, whatever, regardless
Mhm.
Hispanic and or European, what doesn't matter.
Right.
We all every family has its unique dynamic, and that's what's so fascinating with it. Last but not least, I want to talk about the male that's stepping forward on the father's side of the family. And one of the things he comes up first and foremost, he comes up and gives you a bear hug and gives you a kiss on the cheek. And he looks at you and he has like, I want to say almost like almond colored eyes, like hazel, right? And his
Mhm.
eyes are always twinkling, like he has a permanent smile. And I can just feel the pride coming from him, like radiating, like if and he just gives you the biggest hug. Like if you think of somebody giving you a bear hug, gonna crush your bones, and just giving you the tremendous amount of love. And one of the things that I keep on feeling is just all this pride that comes from him of um, just really who you have become. Does that make sense to you?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so it's interesting too. It's almost like when I hear them, it's almost like we're supposed to play like some music and not like any music, but I almost want to say like it's almost like a waltz or like very kind of like very um Cary Grantish, very, very, very suave. How do I want to say that? It's very,
Yep.
very fluid. And he was a very handsome gentleman. And he kind of like saunter in. He was a great dancer back in the day. And it just really, again, really talking about just that big heart coming forward of really how, and I keep on seeing radiating spokes, and that typically that spirit's way of saying how many people when they were living that they touched, like how many souls that they actually touched. So it's like where a lot of people would have been showing up at the funeral or, just like, oh my God, I can't believe he's gone. Does that make sense? And I
Yep.
get it, that goes with a lot of people but truly how moved people were by him. It was, and where he became a big part of people's lives. And
Mhm.
people really enjoyed his company. Does that make sense to you?
That absolutely does. Yep.
Beautiful. Well, one of the things, Leah, obviously, first and foremost, and who is that on your father's side of the family?
My dad.
Oh, what a beautiful thing. And what's dad's name?
What was my dad's name, you said?
Yes.
John.
John. So when we talk about your dad, John, when he steps forward, but he really talks about the challenges that you're facing going forward. And he said, Dean, it's like an uphill climb for her. But you know what? I'm so proud of her. She never gives up. And is actually keeps on talking about yesterday, yesterday, yesterday. And I don't know if you sat down yesterday just before this airing and actually maybe had a conversation with your dad or something, but he keeps on mentioning yesterday and like you guys had a talk. And I'm like, what are you talking about yesterday? And I was like, I don't know, I'll bring it up, but what are you talking about yesterday? Was there something that happened yesterday?
It wasn't like talking to him, but it was with like my best friend who's my cousin,
Oh,
and saying exactly what you're saying, right? Like, what if he brings up the uphill battle that I've been going through? So the things that you are touching on has just been like topics of the week. Yes, with the reading upcoming for sure.
well, this is just validation for you, Leah, that and I know that you know this, but it's this validation that, not only your dad, but others are around you and supporting you, even though, because we know life is not always easy, right? And the
Right.
challenges that we face, sometimes we feel utterly alone.
Right.
And it's nice to get validation sometimes where we are on the proverbial map. And that,
Right.
our loved ones, whether it's mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, it doesn't matter who it is, that they still love us and that they support us and they see us like truly,
Right.
like, hey, I know that you're struggling, but you are strong. You got this. It's like kind of that your spiritual cheerleader, so to speak. And so, you just have a tremendous spiritual support network. Now, let me ask you, Leah,
For sure. It would be an aunt and a grandma. And the aunt that you talk about is, again, I would have said on my dad's side, I'd have not lost any aunts on my mom's side.
okay.
Again, heavy smoker. When you talk about loud, vibrant, that's exactly who she was. Wore her heart on her sleeve, was the best aunt, like you said, to be around, loud and funny, but yet caring and loving all the time. Would take her shirts off her back, doors always open, literally was always open. So yeah, and then the passing with her was spot on. The you felt open heart in some way. It was blood clots, and
Oh,
she did pass after they did try and go into surgery and stop the blood clots, and was unsuccessful. She was left open and did end up passing away. So yes, that was very spot on with that as well.
now that she's crossed over. And so she's like, I'm going to show up any way I want to. And
That's so her.
whether it's a mom, I don't care. I'm just going to
Yep.
show up. It's like, I'm
Yep.
going to show up, damn it. I got to get through. And that's when I was saying, like, me first, like almost trying to jockey for position, like, oh, there's a position over here. So kind of interesting for that aspect. So not shy
Yes.
for sure. Right.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Yep. And then, just the uphill battles, like you've been saying, with the week, the month, the year so far. Super, super spot on.